Hello, welcome to this press conference for the program we just screened in the Orizzonti sidebar. We are, while Ben Russell is busy fixing his name, adding one more L at the end, I'm glad to introduce him. So, Ben Russell, the director of the first film we just saw. Thanks to all your fans as well. And for Girimunho, we have the directors. So I will do some presentation from this side to that far side. And we have Helvécio Martin and Clarissa Campolina, the two co-directors of the film. The producers, Sara Silveira, Luana Melgaçao, Luis Minaro, and Paulo De Carvalho. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. And of course, Diego Lerrer on the other side of this desk that will moderate with me this discussion. It's a discussion, as we said, so you're more than welcome, and you're supposed to engage with questions. So if you have any, just raise your hand and wait for the microphone, and we will be more than happy to answer. And otherwise, since usually this is not happening at the beginning at least, we start with a first question for Ben, and it's about displays. I mean, your films are often connected to your trips, to where the places you visit, the people you meet. And is this footage we saw that you used for River Ride part of the previous project, Let Each One Go, and how it somehow was left from that film and how it became a new work?
Yeah, so just thanks again to all y'all for coming and for the Venice Film Festival and this nice pairing, which is really lovely. So I lived in Suriname for 2 years. You can actually see my house at one point in the film. It's sort of on the river. So, and I'd made a feature film, or shot a feature film about 2.5 years ago that Sergio is referring to, called Let Each One Go Where He May. And in the process of shooting, this was one of those shots, but it just totally didn't work within the context of the film. And it's a piece that I've just sort of held on to for a long time and tried different strategies. At one point, I tried to remake it as John Smith's Girl Chewing Gum, but it didn't work out. And yeah, it just happened through a kind of accident that I sorted out what to do with the film and how it could live. But these, I mean, it's the people are Saramaccan, the country is Suriname, and yeah, they're people in a way that I grew up. Well, spent a significant part of my life with, although not an especially long part of it. Mm-hmm.
And so, I think differently from other projects of yours, this was born more in front of your computer, perhaps, like trying to work with it. I mean, I think it's pretty different from what you did with other pieces of yours when you look for things happening in front of the camera and you try to organize what's happening in front of the camera and to make something, and the film is happening there. This film seems to happen in looking back at it, and maybe some time, a lot of time afterwards that it was shot.
Yeah. I mean, it's all really staged, and maybe a bit too staged when it runs forward in real time. So that was always one of the difficulties in figuring out how to deal with it, was to sort of try to preserve this really familial sense, but also let the film operate in a different way. And I think, I mean, I talk a lot about animism in the description, and I think that's where this pairing is sort of nice, is that there is a kind of fourth dimension connection that's happening within that space that isn't immediately present. It's not immediately visible, and I felt like in looking at the footage over and over, and at some point moving it, just really simply shifting it backwards, this other thing that was happening that was always happening suddenly became evident. So I think it was probably in the footage. I mean, it was there all along, but I just never was able to see it.
And why this film is not part of the Trip series? I mean, I read that you, I mean, because it's also some elements in common with music that you use in some previous works in that series, but then I've read also that you said that series of works should probably completed, but I was wondering if this film might have reopened it and became the number 8, if I'm not wrong. Or
Right, yeah. So I have this ongoing series of films, maybe ongoing, which Sergio is referring to, this sort of psychedelic ethnographic films, and yeah, that feels pretty. The things that are happening in there somehow are different than what's happening in this film, River Rites. I think in part because I didn't conceive of River Rites as functioning within that context, and I also think that the framework is maybe a bit more located within the, I don't know, like I said, the familial, the sort of the anthropological, the like directly, it feels more like a home movie that's somehow been just turned on its side in a way, and I'm not sure that the ambitions of trance and transformation that happen in the other films is necessarily the ambition of this film.
this one, okay.
I don't know if there's anybody who wants to make another question for Ben. Well, in case of for the directors of the feature film, one of the things I wanted to ask you is you had a relationship with these characters from a long time. I wanted to, if you can tell, English is all right? Okay. Are you waiting for the? Okay, I'll go again. I just wanted to ask you if how long the relationship between you and the people that you depict in the film goes far back, and how all this relationship evolved during the years and to make it the film, to end up making the film. Both of you, Helvécio and Clarissa.
Our relationship started 80 years ago. Okay, this relationship is very fundamental for all the process because we started it 8 years ago when I and Clarissa, we visit their house for the first time. Actually, we were working exhibition project for during that river that people that never saw cinema, and there's no cinema rooms all of there, and we were invited for this project to make small documentaries about 10 minutes for that people so they could see themselves in the screen. And then about 2 years after this first visit, we were like in love for the histories we used to hear from them, and it was like increasing something inside us. And then we said, okay, let's do a film with them. And this was 2006. And then we start to visit them at least 3 times a year, and a lot of notes during this. With Bastiana, the main character was kind of more easier, because Bastiana is very much a given person. She can receive everyone very well. She's a very careful person. With Maria, the drum lady, was a little bit more difficult because they have very different personalities. But Maria didn't let us to shoot any test with the camera during the 3 first years. So we made a lot of notes during this, and we decided to make a fiction feature. So we invited Felipe Bragança, who is a very close friend of us, also very good director, also script writer. So we put some dramaturgy on the real facts we heard about their lives, and mixed up with some things we made up and everything. And then about 3 years ago, we told them we would shoot a film together with them, and then we start this. But all this this intimate thing between us and them was like very important for the whole film. And but we just start 1 month before. It was a very long process to shooting. And we took 3 months, even if the producers didn't like it. But we always work with very small crew. For a normal feature, it could be okay to shoot it in 4 weeks or 5 weeks. We took 8 weeks to shoot because we used their time. We were not worried about our time to shoot. We choose them to shoot. They are no perfection actors, so they have no obligations of doing this well. This was all our responsibility. And so one month before start shooting, we start some tests with them, with making some dialogues. Sometimes it works, sometimes not. Like every day we have to think and to find a different solution and to have the spirit of what we wanted in the script. But we never like obligate them to tell like this. So this relationship, this intimate thing was every time was very important because they feel always very comfortable beside us. And also, Maria Sebastiana is more close to fantasy. It's more like buying our ideas. And the other lady, the drum lady, said in the second week of shooting, she said, "I don't lie." And for her, lie was just like something that we made up in the script and was not totally inside her life. And then we have to find another way to shoot her, and during the process we were discovering that as much as, not sweet, but as much as free, we let them as much as we got what you wanted many times. Want to complete it? Is that okay? Did I talk too much?
And, sorry.
I think that Helvécio told a lot of things that we made together there, but I'd like to say that I think the cinema is one art that let the world came to us, and we try to do this in this time of research and in these 3 months that we stay together, because we really would like to live with them, to create with them this script and the film. So I think everything that happens to us in these 3 months, we always try to have the script, but in the same time to see other things that is happening in that place, in that time.
Sorry, just to finish, we still have a longer relationship with them. It's not because the film is finished. They are like our little grandmas, and we are very close to them for the rest of their life, because most important than a film or everything is whatever we learn with them for our lives. And it also happened with some of our shorts. And so we also doing the Brazilian premiere of the film in the same small city where we shoot them. It's next October 6th.
And one question to the producers of the film: how complicated it is to make a film when you don't exactly know how long it's going to take, and you don't know exactly what you're getting in terms of what he says, that the story comes from the people and not from a scripted, that not everything is scripted. I don't know who of the producers wants to talk.
The time was very important for them since the beginning of the film, and when I came to do the film with them, they had the idea, they are starting to write the script, and we have to prepare the budget to work with this time. And I think Sara, Paulo, Minharo, and me, we believe in the work they do and the kind of film they made. They make. I work with them in Trecho, the short film, Passage in English, and I knew the kind of the way they used to shoot and the relation with the personages, the characters. So it was. I think we thought the budget before to work with this time.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, what do you think?
Microphone.
Well, this film is very cheaper. You can imagine this, because it's a little film. We accepted to do this film like that because the guys, it was there many years to work with these old ladies, and the money, it was very hard to look the money for that, to say we will do one film with two old ladies. What's happened? Well, I don't know what's happened, but happened something. We will do one film. And we look the money with Luis Minharo, Ed Saeta, and Paulo. Paulo brought Luis Minharo with us. We won Ibermedia. After we presented to World Cinema Fund, we won World Cinema Fund. After we went to Uberbounce Funds, we won Uberbounce Funds, and our little money in Brazil, and all the monies, international monies, we done the film. The film is here, and me, I'm very happy to show this Brazil. One Brazil very different, very hard, but beautiful, beautiful. This film is one poesy. It's like that. I'm happy, like producer, to do that, and I'm here, and this is very important. We are in Venice. We can show the film for you. And I see many people love the film, the others don't. All the films is like that. Some loves, some doesn't love. Me, I love, and my colleagues, I see, we love our film, no? Is that. Thank you.
For the...
Please, please.
No, I have no question. I just wanted to tell you that I am very moved by the film because I see the respect for the characters that are in the film. And this deep emotion that I felt in no way is connected with the sentimental use of the characters, of the action. It's this kind of distance that is not cold, it is respectful, and there is a warmth that goes to, for me, as a spectator. And I just wanted to congratulate you, not only on film grounds, but if I am allowed, on moral grounds for the film.
One question, I don't know if, but one question for the directors is like, apart from being a film that's, I mean, use the language of the people and the way they sort of speak and the stories that relate, it's a very carefully constructed, visually constructed film. It's not just a fly on the wall. It's like, it's a very technically, I don't know how to put it, it's like, I don't want to say beautiful because it sounds like too much, but it is in a way. So I wanted you to tell the audiences, how did you work visually in terms of to make the film?
We choose a 5D camera, the photographic one, because we would like to stop a little bit, and we had to shoot in digital because we didn't have money, and if we use a regular camera, like video camera, we could just fail the characters and try to find a way, a better plan. But we didn't like working this way in this film because we would like to choose the shoots before we start to work with them. So, and I think this made a lot of difference in the film in the end, because we always put the camera in the way that you'd like to do, and try to go with them in the way we were planning, but not saying go from this way and go for that way. So, would you like to say?
Just also something that happens a lot, all the locations, we know it very well from other films we made in that area of Brazil. So we know the sun position of any places. It's not only a study for this film, a study for life and for many other things we made around there. Also, I think there's something in our feeling that our past works and something else for our lives is also strongly there in the film.
And I think in the beginning we would like to have a climb of mystery, and we work with black and the light, because when we researched for 7 years and we stayed there for 3 months, but they still have something that we will never get, because they are part of another world, and we would like to bring for the photography as well these parts of black and white things, and to get this impression that we have to construct this world.
And also, I think the film goes increasing in some way. It starts with some mysterious way. We don't know exactly what is happening there. It seems like a little bit confusing of the dramaturgy, and seems that maybe people will get lost in the first half of the film, and then it goes getting closer and closer, and I think from the half of the film and in the end things goes making more sense, and that's another thing that we try to construct on the dramaturgic way. Sorry for my English.
Ben, I think this concerns also your work a lot. I mean, being in a different place, in a different culture, and understanding, but probably also respecting that mystery. I mean, that can that represent for you. How was, in your case, for this whole project? I mean, of this Rites part of. I mean, you also had this experience of trying to fit in, but then also have a gaze which stays out of the situation.
Yeah, I mean, I never. Yeah, once I was fluent in Saramaccan, I realized how unable I was to communicate, and just how, I mean, being a tall white dude in a place where there aren't a lot of tall white guys makes you aware that you can't fit in. And I think that part of my strategy in a lot of my films, but this in particular, is not to try to do that, to feel like there are a great number of things that I can't understand and won't understand, but that my interest is trying to draw connections between the sort of cultural space that I come from, which in this film is crazy noise music. The music that's in there is by a band called Mind Flayer from Providence, Rhode Island, and it's part of a culture that I am really familiar with and enjoy, and I felt like there is an allegiance and a kinship between ways of expressing oneself in the world and existing in the world, and that's sort of where where these two spaces come together, where that moment of what appears to be a real kind of discontinuity, but I think makes a lot of sense, is mashing up this one sort of Saramaccan cultural space and grafting, or just like not marrying it to, but just placing it in parallel with a really different sort of space that has a very similar kind of spiritual ambition. So, so yeah, I don't pretend to understand animism in the least.
Question from the audience. Anybody?
I have the impression that there is another kind of relationship between the two pieces, the two films, Ben's work and Girimunho. Something I'm very sensitive to is the capacity to make ghosts visible. Whether the ghosts are the ghost of the form of animism you were talking about, Ben, or whether the ghosts are the ghosts that are in one's life. No? And it's probably one of the graces of cinema to make ghosts visible. Did you have something of the kind of mind, addressing the filmmakers, Ben and Horacio and Clarissa? Did you have this haunting in your head when you started or when you filmed? Thank you.
I'll just give really, I mean, that's the meta project of cinema, is to show the thing that can't be shown. And so I think for me in my practice, increasingly more and more, it's about trying to present phantoms or ghosts or, you know, the ethereal, the sort of ineffable. And that's what I hope is happening in this film. And that's what's exciting about, especially the moment where Swirl is like actualized, and with that little dust going across, you know, that you sort of understand a really different kind of space and time. So,
you know what, Ben? Probably know everybody here saw our short films, but our short films are close relation to yours. Yeah. Some of them. And when we decided to make a feature film, I think that some elements of his work and other elements of our shorts are presented in this film, like this plan that we always wanted that Swirl passing by the dirty road, and in some way we get that we were there, stopped in the road, and it just passed in front of us. Was very nice. And so this soltura, the freedom of the way that it's present on your work, this freedom, we always practice this a lot on our shorts, and it brings something to us to make Girimunho easier, but even with a lookout for more dramaturgy, for more constructions. Sarah asked me to give an example also, different example, but the husband of Maria Sebastiana, when we start the process, when we start to visit them, he was alive, and he was part of the film. He was one main character. He was dead in 2007 and almost 2008, and we always saw that. And he was also very close to me. I always used to bring him a cachaça every time. And something very interesting, for example, we shot last year in 2010. So he was dead 2 years ago. And then Bastiana, when he was dead, she used to tell us that he was appearing in the, como é que fala ferraria? The blacksmith. He was like always appearing. And during the film, we start to work with them, talking about her husband, even 2 years later. And she wasn't like reminding anymore that he was appearing, and then sometimes we, instead of forcing her to remind her husband, Clarissa or me, we used to tell her a story. Bastu, I remind 10 years ago when my grandfather died, and I used to hear some things at night at my house, and then she started to get that thing, and she started to remind more and more. And then, is that question, Sarah, or what we change it? Is that okay? No? He was alive.
She wants to say that he was alive when the project started, and after that, Feliciano died, and we reconstruct the script to get into the film even after his death. But I think the cinema, the good thing is you have a power to imagination things. So, and we work with cinema because of that. And the ghosts, they have this mystery and this capacity to go to the fourth dimension, as Ben said, and to say things that we would like to say, and in the reality, it's not there. And I think with the band, the movie of Ben, we have this similarity, and the movement as well, the body and the movement of your film, in a way, dialogue with the movement of our film, and the narrative, and the trying to reconstruct themselves that the characters have, and things like that.
So one thing that maybe people are curious about is if you can tell exactly what this area is in particular in Brazil, why so, and why it started to be so fascinating to you just to go there. What is it exactly that you thought it was touching for you personally when you went there and when you meet these characters? And also where geographically this
Again, sorry about our English. We can speak it okay, but I feel a little bit, maybe Clarissa too, a little bit more dumb. So but anyway, this is a specific region of our state of Minas Gerais. The places, we live in the capital of this state, it's Belo Orizzonti. And this place is 700 kilometers from Belo Orizzonti. It's called the Sertão. It's a vast, very big area, and one interesting thing that for us, the Brazilian literature masterpiece is João Guimarães Rosa, and a book called The Grande Sertão Veredas. That for me it's the most beautiful piece of art that I ever met in my life, and sure that the book shows up a period from 1940s, 1950s, and we don't want to imitate that, but something in their language and their way to speak and to talk is very similar to some parts of the book. In Brazil, it will be more easily compared, but there's many scenes, like Bastu when she has the gun, is very similar to one character, João Guimarães Rosa. And this area is still very inhabited area in Brazil. And the internet and other many things are just arriving there. We have a cell phone in the last 2 years. So the imagination of these people is still very untouchable, very pure. And it's more easy to make kind of fantasy, and I think in the script there's some moments that talks about that. For example, when Bastiana dreams about São Paulo, and if you we want to put that, but if you really ask her if she had been in São Paulo, she naturally said yes. And then the talk is still going on, and she said, oh, I just had been there in dream, not physically, but in dream. What for her is the same thing, really, really. Okay, the San Francisco River, it's the Amazon rivers in Brazil by north, 3,000 kilometers from where we are. It's very far away. But the San Francisco River is the most important river in Brazil because it's not only forest and only nature like Amazon. The population of these rivers, very strong folklore on that and history. There is something on the Brazilian soul, the way of the Brazilian soul in some anthropological way that is very strong presented in the inhabitants of this river. That this river, it's born in Minas Gerais, goes to Bahia, Pernambuco, and then Alagoas and Sergipe. There is 3,000 kilometers of a rio. In the past, it was the only way to travel along Brazil when there is no roads and anything. So we still have lots of some magic and some things had not passed by yet. There are some stories about that's still there.
And about the characters, I think we met them and we could feel in them a kind of desire to live in different way each day. Even then can carry a lot of tradition things, but in the same time they take what they had in the past and recreate in the present, and this thing really admired us.
Just to finish, because you always talk about the old ladies. They're very beautiful, very interesting, and we love them. But also the younger, they are, como é que fala neto, gente? The grandson are very important because they are a level of dramaturgy is very important on that. We don't want to adaptate these old times. These plays are still there. They are changing on that, and this desire of their grandchild, it's still there, and that's why we want to mix that a little bit, and then that's why they are so important on the dramaturgy every time.
And the film works with the limit of a lot of things, more death and life. And this river, this city is beside the river with a lot of water, and all the vegetation is is very dry. So this contradiction we have in the landscape as well.
Is there something that someone was saying that the moral point of view, or how do you establish a point of view that it's never feel that you're using the people and you're not exploiting the people, and that's a fine line to drive when you make a film like this. So I want you, if you can explain, if you had some choices to make, not to do this, not to cross that line over the use of these characters or exploiting them.
I think Bestu always would like to play with us. She is a person that would like to do different things each day, and we like us very much, and we're very exciting about what to do, and we we really construct the film with her in this way that we are making a film. As Helvécio said before, Maria said to us, I don't want to lie, and I don't want to say things that happens like in the past, or I don't like to made up stories. So we work with her in a different way. For example, sometimes we ask, can you play this music? And she just start to play another one. And we try to find a way to change what we were thinking to get what she wants to give to us. So I think this kind of thing shows the respect that we have with them.
Sometimes, Diego, the choices, we had some, but sometimes, many times, have to change it for the film. Sometimes we wanted something, but it was like kind of impossible, and then we had to be open for change it and very attentive to that, and changing the film during the process. Sometimes change the script in this process, also as a respect for them, but also because the process was something very rich for us. Even this kind of directed them on scene, many times I was like more, okay, let's go like this, but the way to provoke them to do the way we want, it's in some limit that it's like impossible to explain. But this very good question you made, because sometimes we don't have to be arrested in some situation or in what our ego demands or whatever. But it's something very in the border to them to act. So whatever it goes positive for the film, it was more strong sometimes, not all the times, than our wishes of doing it. But sure, we have many choices, and we talk a lot during the process and during every time.
This question is for Ben. I think it has a bit to do with both of the films, but both of you spoke about community and growing some closeness with the community. So I guess for Ben, it's just, is this a community that you eventually want to work again with? And if not, is your future work going to be always revolving around an idea of community? And if it is, what do you think are the two different models within working with just one community where you sort of devote your life to working with them, or with many where it's sort of using them as an example for other communities to take as a symbol or a metaphor?
Yeah, I mean, that last one, using them as an example, seems like where that question of exploitation comes into play, that it's when you, just to tie this back, I mean, I think cinema is always necessarily exploitative. I think that's part of its nature. You're entering into some kind of power arrangement with somebody, some group of somebodies, and that it's a question of agency, like how to give, accept, or allow agency, as opposed to how to not exploit people. So, yeah, I mean, a really amazing thing about having lived in Suriname in this particular community and worked with a lot of the folks there is that they're really close. I'm really close to them, and I will continue to go visit them and see them, but it's also a real pain in the ass to do because it's really far away. And, you know, it's just like, if the ideas make sense for that community and my relationship with them, then it's something I'll continue to do. But it does, the danger of beginning to jump around from one community to another is that they become examples of, as opposed to something more entire. And that's, yeah, it's really tough to figure out exactly how to go about formulating one's ideas so that they still are respectful and engaged in a power contract that's like fulfilling for both sides to some extent. So I'm not really sure. I don't have any ideas right now to make another film in Suriname, although when I was watching Rites film, I was thinking it might be fun to do something like that with one of my main actors from there, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
I think what's important, like Ben said, is the way you watch these people. Long time, and it's very easy to see how they act with the camera in your film. You said like your house was there on the other side of the river. The same with us. We slept many times on their house and was like watching that all the time, not with a tense way and the anxious way, just waiting things happen and they naturally come to you. This is something very, very important.
Okay, I will just remind you that the same program is showing tomorrow again at 6:45, so you will have the chance either to see the films again if you like them that much, or otherwise to spread the word and invite other people to discover them tomorrow. So that's all for now. Thank you for being here, and thanks most of all to our guests for their films and for having joined the conversation.